Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the LIUniverse. I'm Dr. Charles Liu, your host, and today especially, perhaps more than any other day, please call me Chuck. Why today? Well, I am in especially good mood because I don't have just one other Liu with me, but I have two. So, as always, let us say hello to our co-host, Allen Liu. Hey, Alan.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
good to see you. Hey, I gotta ask you, of course, have you recovered any hermetically sealed vessels lately?
I know what you're referring to, but
Yes,
for me
yes.
personally, I lost my water bottle and then I found it. It's one of those little screw top water bottles. Someone,
And was hermetically sealed.
I mean, they just gotta keep the water in. That's about
Yes.
as close as you're gonna get.
And and all of you have heard the other Liu with us, our special guest, whenever we want things historical or human involved. Hannah Liu. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, what a pleasure to have you today. I'm really excited to talk about this in part, aside from the fact that I just love talking to you anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, this thing fell out of the sky or is falling out of the sky soon, depending on when this episode is airing.
Probably in the
Okay.
past by the time you see
Probably in the
it.
past, right? And anytime things are falling out of the sky, we're like, the sky is falling, well, literally, which then translates to, everything is falling. We're doomed.
Doomsday.
The sky is falling. Very
I know.
traditional.
Very, very traditional, yeah.
That's right. And thus, today's episode is one of our Chuck GPT specials where we answer questions that all of you have sent in one way or another. And this is going to be about the end of everything.
Dun,
Destruction.
dun, dun.
It's all going away. Or as the popular phrase goes, or the word, we should say, the popular word goes, Armageddon. Now, we're not talking about the 1990s movie with questionable science starring some, pretty famous people who go up and plant a bomb on an asteroid, which we somehow never found for 200 years because it's gigantic, and then save the Earth. Okay, not that movie.
Who's in that movie?
Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, Billy Bob Thornton. Yeah, I mean, some serious, we're gonna go and save the world kind of thing, which is, why not, right? It made money, so it's entertaining, and certainly we enjoy talking about things here in a speculative fashion. But let's talk about real stuff, things that actually could cause problems with our society or our species or even all life on Earth. And I'm happy to talk about it right now, starting with what we've been alluding to just now, today's cool, joyful, cosmic thing.
Did you get it wrong on purpose again?
What? What? What'd I say?
You said,
I know that's wrong.
You said cool. It's the joyfully cool cosmic thing.
Yes. Joyfully cool cosmic
I don't know.
thing of the day.
I don't know if you're forgetting or if you're just like, I'm going to change it up for my own entertainment.
I might do that sometime. It sounds like a great idea. Thank you. We will be involved with that. And it has to do with, indeed, a thing that was hardened for the vacuum of space falling to Earth. I think that this is really, really neat because, whenever things fall from the sky, I always hope that it lands right in our backyard. I mean, not hitting anything, not hurting anything, but I want it in our backyard. I mean, aside from the fact that it would put us on the map forever, right? We could sell it to people who actually want pieces of stuff that fell down. I think.
All right. Well, first we got to tell everyone what the actual
yes.
thing is.
Yes.
You just keep talking about it.
Alan, give us the details. Give us the.
All right. So this is a Soviet-era spacecraft that was supposed to go to Venus, and it failed to leave Earth orbit. So it was sitting up there for 50 years, 53 years, something like that.
Wow.
And people have been tracking it with telescopes since then, and they figured it's going to fall down within a week after we record this.
Wow.
And because it's designed to re-enter Venus, which has a much thicker atmosphere than Earth and is about the same gravity as Earth, we think that it'll probably land on Earth in one piece. And then it might break into a bunch of pieces once it hits the ground.
That feels bad, right?
Yeah, it does feel bad. It's not.
Okay, cool.
It's like half a ton or something like that.
Ooh.
So
you do not want that in your backyard.
It might make a pretty big hole in the grass. It probably would not destroy the house, but
yeah, it would be something, wouldn't it? Or maybe the grassy area behind our backyard.
I don't know. I would rather it land like somewhere in like a middle of a field in Kansas or like the Sahara, somewhere we can pick it up. But but not going to hit anybody.
Ocean? Not the ocean?
Well, if it's in the ocean, then it'll sink, and then we can't pick it up. I'd like to be able to get the bits of it and at least do some science on them to see like what happens to something you leave in space for 50 years.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we want
ocean would also be like safe, but it wouldn't be fun with the pieces,
right? Because you'd have to recover it, right? And if it goes down even a few hundred feet, it starts to become an issue.
Yeah,
I mean, getting down to the Titanic, for example, that's more than 1,000 feet down, and that's dangerous, like life-threatening dangerous.
I mean, people have recovered bits of rockets that have sunk into the ocean, but it's like not that common.
Yeah. But half a ton is enough to do some damage. You're right. You could do some calculations and figure out exactly how much kinetic energy carries. Actually, while you make that calculation, Alan, tell us how much kinetic energy is coming. Hannah, tell us like stories of stuff that fell that have been recorded either in mythology or actual history or prehistory, whatever, that have like caused us destruction. Technically, the fall of the gods.
We want to go all the way up to the gods. Well, we can talk about maybe the Titanomachy, which is the legendary Greek mythological fight between the gods and the Titans. You can picture like the big battle scene in Hercules, the movie, with the Titans are like Zeus. It's like that, but
more mythological and less Disney.
Wait, wasn't that like a Disney version of Hercules?
Yeah, it's not. If you want to learn the real story of Hercules, don't do that.
Yeah, great.
It's a great movie, though. It's a really good movie.
Okay, we believe you.
Well put together and acted.
Maybe is like this massive battle, and it's like it's sort of this like cosmogony.
Mm-hmm. Cosmogony.
Mm-hmm. Cosmogony of the Greeks. And we think maybe it was inspired by some pretty catastrophic volcanic eruptions.
Excuse me, let me interrupt, because it might actually be cosmogony. Cosmogony is what I do, which is like the patterns and structures that are in the universe. But cosmogony, different from cosmology, which is the study of the origins of the universe. That's definitely not. Right.
I think it might be the same word though, like because they're both talking about the origin of the heavens, right? But one more sciencey and one's more religious-y.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, you Hannah, you're the one who knows all about like long words, okay? Because like it's the whole historical.
Yeah, at astronomers being like it's a hole and it's black. It's a black hole.
Yeah, we're not real good as far as creative new words are
I have
concerned.
always said that. That is true. But then sometimes you just only read words, and then
that's also fair.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay, so the Titans are there. Of course, there's a game right now that's very popular called Baldur's Gate 3, right? And that has something to do with another Death of the Gods or War of the Gods or Twilight of the Gods from Northern Europe, Ragnarok. Or as Richard Wagner, the famous composer, put in his opera, gave that name of Götterdämmerung, Twilight of the Gods, right? Now, is that supposed to cause massive destruction of all of us too? Like, do we all get wiped out as a result?
Of Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of these are meant to be like very specifically, like they've become synonyms for the end of the world because in the mythology they're these big events.
That makes sense. So what's the origin of Armageddon then?
Well, Armageddon is also a great battle that's meant to happen that will lead to the end of the world. It itself is actually not the end of the world. We have come to use Armageddon as shorthand for the end of the world, but it's actually it's a biblical battle that's supposed to occur on the way to the end of the world. It's supposed to occur at this place called Armageddon.
Oh.
Which then gives us the term Armageddon.
Is it like a Frenchified somehow?
Yeah.
Armageddon. This is kind of a place Like it's like Margaritaville or something like that. Wasting away again.
XKCD had a comic about Margaritaville being the same as the Undying Lands from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. So I don't know that
you would waste away there.
Yeah,
in the Undying Lands. Okay.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that Armageddon, which takes place at this place Armageddon, leads then to the end of the world, the apocalypse, if you will.
Okay. And apocalypse is another long name, long word for the end of everything that we use today, right?
Apocalypse actually is a direct translation or a transliteration of the Greek word, which means revelation. It's the first word of the biblical book, the New Testament book, Revelations, which foretells the end of the world, which is why we think an apocalypse is the end of the world. But the like term that scholars use to talk about the end of the world is eschatology.
Okay. That's a fun word.
Comes from the Greek eschatos, which means the last thing.
That makes sense.
I love that. Well, is that the origin of the word scat, which biologists use to describe what comes out of the ends of animals?
No. I think scat probably Latin is my guess.
Oh, okay. Because eschatology, because I don't know what the biologists call the study of scat, but it was just suddenly thinking that eschatology. Okay. So if it's
Greek. Oh, my bad. It's Greek. It's
really?
Scott means dung.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, well, so it's quite appropriate if we see the asteroid coming down to hit us to yell, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
Oh, scat.
Okay.
Oh, scat. Yeah, it was scat. We can say that on the podcast.
All right. Yes. All right. Let's get to a question right away. Do we have a question about something falling and destroying us?
Yeah. So we got a question from Ahmed, and Ahmed is asking about things falling from the sky. What are the odds that a killer asteroid will kill us all?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know in a previous episode, we were talking about the asteroid 2024 YR4, which people said had like a 4 or 5% chance of hitting us at the maximum. But as we talked about, as that range got narrower and narrower, first the odds slowly rose, and then they quickly just dropped off. So we are now at the point where the odds of that thing hitting Earth in 2032 specifically has gone to like basically zero, like less than 0.001 or something like that. I'll have to find the exact number.
All right.
But there's still about a 3% chance, like 3%, which is pretty big, 1 in 30, that'll hit the moon.
What?
Which would be great, because then we get to see a whole new moon crater form, which would be awesome. Just do a bunch of science. And the moon has like no one living on it, so I think they'll be safe.
Okay, so it's not big enough to like cause so much damage on the moon it would like spray stuff onto the Earth,
Well, so this thing it's not that big of an asteroid, if I recall correctly. So what could happen is that it would spray like little tiny like pebbly rocks, which could
that's not so bad.
Land on Earth as meteorites, but they'd be small enough to not do any damage. But it would definitely not like break up the moon. It wouldn't knock the moon too far out of its orbit. Like the same way that hitting a grain of sand with a school bus isn't going to knock the school bus off the road.
It's true. So one of those moon pieces could hit our backyard. And
that would be awesome. That would be great. Right. We got a lunar meteorite in our backyard. I mean, Jeff Notkin was on the show with a lunar meteorite a long time ago.
Meteorite hunter. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so
he had to travel a long way to get it.
He had to find it like very specifically and on purpose. Whereas
that's right.
If we had one to land in our backyard, that'd be awesome, but unlikely.
There's stories about meteorites coming down and like destroying people's cars.
Yeah, so one hit somebody's car like head on and then broke it because it hit head on. And then there was, of course, the most damaging meteorite to human property recently was the Chelyabinsk meteorite, which broke all the windows out in the city in Russia. That would be more like what would happen if the main asteroid itself had hit the Earth.
Oof.
Yeah.
Ouch.
But the little bits that it would spray up off the moon wouldn't do that much damage.
So less of a dinosaur situation.
Less of a dinosaur situation for sure.
Right. So let me just answer Ahmed's question based on what we know now. The calculations of our planetary science colleagues at this stage suggest that something that's a dinosaur situation, right, a 65 million year ago kind of thing that actually threatens all the land species on Earth, you got to have an object that's about a mile across, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. And for something like that to hit us, the odds of it hitting us in any given year, that is an asteroid large enough to cause like civilization destruction on Earth, in any given year is about 50 million to 1 against.
Which I guess makes sense if it's been 65 million years since the last one.
That's right. And the solar system also has been getting thinner over time.
Oh, true, yeah.
With stuff, right? So it's about 50 million to 1. That could be off by as much as I don't remember the exact error bars of that measurement or that calculation, but it could be off by as much as 20 or 30 million years. So the odds of it happening are like winning big lottery money kind of odds.
But like the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people talk about asteroid impacts as like the way that humanity civilization might end, I feel like there was a metaphor I saw, which is that asteroid impacts are to like catastrophic risks the way that giant pandas are to like wildlife conservation. They're like the big flashy thing. They're the one that people pay attention to, and they're like cute.
And they're cute.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, dinosaurs are cute, so the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs is not itself cute, but it involves cute things.
Whoa.
It's like there are more, just as giant pandas are important, but not the only important species to conserve. There are other important risks to worry about besides asteroid impacts, and asteroid impacts are just the famous one.
Whoa.
Listening to you talk about the chances of asteroid impacts makes me think about how those of us who study Roman history think about the eruption of Vesuvius and
oh yeah,
we're due. I'm just
yeah.
I'm not a geologist, and maybe
might be in trouble.
But it's like every roughly like 2,000 years or so, it's had like a really giant, scary pyroclastic Plinian eruption. And the last one was in 79 AD. So just put that there. You do the math.
It's had smaller ones since then. There was one in like the 40s, right? So
yeah, there was one in the 40s, which was like a more like normal, I guess, like stereotypical volcanic eruption with the lava comes down. But yeah, no, the big the big eruptions that are more like explosions are less common.
All right. Well, let's get back to more of that, actually. I'm glad you brought it up right now about like the Earth. But let's take a break right now, okay, for a moment. And we are here on the LIUniverse talking about the end of the world. We'll be right back. Hey, and we're back on this episode of the LIUniverse when we are talking about the end of the world, the destructive things out in the universe and here on Earth that can wipe us out. We were just talking, Hannah, about volcanic eruption, right? Vesuvius. But there have been other recorded explosions or volcanic events, right? Certainly in sort of Greek or pre-Greek stuff that have resulted in some disastrous things, right?
Totally. Yeah. Big time. So I guess pre-Greek, although in the area, famously is the eruption, the Minoan eruption, which took place on the island that's often known as Santorini, but is also called Thera. We think that was like 3,500 years ago. And the reason that the date is a little bit tricky, just because it was so long ago, but the reason we have an idea is because there's literally a layer of tephra, which is the pyroclastic material from this volcano that is pretty much found in all archaeological sites in the Eastern Mediterranean. It's like this layer of stuff that came out of the volcano.
Wow.
And it was described in Egyptian sources, even in Chinese sources.
Wow.
And resulted in huge amounts of destruction. Actually, there was a burial like the one at Pompeii of a city called Akrotiri.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not as well known, but
not
cool.
But you can go visit it if you want to.
I know there's another Akrotiri that's a British territory on Cyprus. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it might just be the kind of name for the city. Like,
I mean, it would be close by.
All right.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Wow. Did that happened on, you said the Minoan civilization?
Yeah.
Is that like where the Minotaurs are?
Yeah, actually. So
Nice.
so the Minotaur mythologically is the son of King Minos, which is why he gets that name. Well, sort of the son of King Minos, which is where he gets the name Minos, right? Minotaur, the Minos bull. Although the historical, I mean, was there a bull man? No. But the Minoan civilization used to have, we think, a like coming of age ritual that had to do with bull jumping. So maybe there was something there.
Some mistranslation going on.
A Pamplona-like situation. Okay.
Cool. It's really cool. Like if you look up clay stuff that we discovered, it's like really cool pictures of these like incredible acrobatics and bulls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Ooh. Oh, wow. So now, is that what we call the Bronze Age collapse? Like the destruction of all those civilizations all around that time, like around 1000 BC? Is that what happened?
No, but I'm glad you asked about the Bronze Age collapse.
Excellent.
We love the Bronze Age collapse.
Teach us.
I mean,
I'm obsessed learning with about the Bronze Age collapse. So the Bronze Age collapse is about 400 years after that. 500 years after that. So roughly the 12th century BCE, 1100s. And we don't really know exactly what happened. But the palace systems, the government systems of the area, and trade and military, like all this stuff just like collapsed very quickly. The Minoans are one of the groups that were just like, bye. The Mycenaeans, so you may like think about Agamemnon, the Hittites, which is they're in what is now Turkey, like gone, just like truly gone.
Dang.
And there's like so many different reasons why we think that might have happened. One very popular and fun, mysterious idea is the idea of the sea peoples. Who are so interesting. Mostly,
you mean like Namor and like the kingdom of Atlantis, people coming up and like eating people, like or whatever.
We don't know who they were. We like maybe have some guesses from the Egyptians who were like they were like these people who we think are this list of 6 groups coming together to just raid down the Eastern Mediterranean and like leave smoking craters.
They probably lived on land and came over the sea rather than bumping out of the sea.
That would be good.
Would have been fun the other way, but
okay. All right.
And then they come in, they destroy, and then they out. They're gone.
That's crazy.
They don't want to like sit down and like make a city or anything like that.
No, they're just gone.
Wow.
So that could be one reason. That's like right around the time of the mythological Trojan War, and also maybe some real Trojan War. Debatable. So you can put that into context. But also around that time was a pretty big volcanic eruption. The Icelandic volcano that has erupted many times, Hekla.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them in Iceland.
Hekla.
Yeah, Hekla 3 is this one. And it's potentially led to a temperature decline.
Crop failures in
led
Europe.
To some pretty crazy climate change, as one can imagine. That didn't really lift for a couple thousand years. Until the Roman period, when it got to the temperature that we might recognize now as normal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm amazed. Now, this is a lot. I mean, it's not like this was way, way long ago. I mean, it was like, the Great Pyramid in Egypt had already been built by then, roughly.
It had been built for a while, right?
Yeah.
And that thing's really old.
So it's like a near human history kind of mystery. I love that.
People ask me sometimes if I could go back in time, where would I go? I would go there. I want to know who the sea peoples are and where they went.
Nice.
I want to know. Yeah, I mean, Egypt ultimately was able to fend them off according to their own records, but they were severely weakened.
Wow.
One of the only civilizations that seemed to do pretty well were the Cypriots. Cyprus.
Yeah, speaking of Cyprus,
yeah, they seem to have maybe invented ironworking, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
and which led from the late Bronze Age collapse to the Iron Age.
To the Iron Age. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
because the whole thing was like you needed tin and copper together to make bronze. So you needed those trade networks. But if you have iron, then I guess you can just be yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that'll disrupt trade quite like climate disaster and a war at once.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Seriously. Yeah. All right. Speaking of things, disasters and so forth, I did the calculations on the kinetic energy of the incoming satellite bit.
Thank you. Yeah. So when this Soviet era thing hits, how much energy will it deliver?
We're looking at around 36 gigajoules, assuming it's coming in close to escape velocity because it's on a pretty high orbit.
Okay.
Which is equivalent of about like 10 tons of TNT, not kilotons, like individual tons.
So 1/1000th the explosive power of the Hiroshima atomic bomb.
Yeah. Or if you imagine like one of those big conventional bombs that they use as fuel and air and stuff. The fuel air bomb.
Okay.
So it would be not good to land in our yard.
It wouldn't.
Let's put it that way.
You're right. Yeah, that would probably knock down our house. Okay. Thank you for making the calculation.
At once, if it wasn't like going in slowly. Yeah.
All right. I feel better now if it doesn't hit our backyard. Okay. That makes me happy. See, that's why we make calculations like this. That's why we do these things. We meld the cool stuff in the universe with actual scientific calculations and mathematical numbers and things like that to help us understand what we want and don't want to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like if we don't want that thing to hit our backyard, we put up a big tent or something, right?
Okay. No, that'll stop it, right?
Maybe just like a really big trampoline so it bounces away.
No.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this LIUniverse conversation. Please join us for part 2. Coming soon to these same channels. If you like what you see and hear, please support us on Patreon. And as always, thank you for being a part of the LIUniverse.